Right, golfers, today we're going to talk about the runaway club face. This is a really common issue. So your club face, the bit that hits the ball, the bit that we understand that when it hits the ball, it needs to be pointing in some general direction where we want the ball to start, it runs away from you. So if you start getting it wrong early, for lots of golfers, and when we use gears from JD Golf Academy, which you'll see in this lesson, oh my word, it just keeps running away. And the trouble with a runaway club face is it causes shots like this. High poppers off to the right. Fats and fins. Oh, horrible shots. And the big slice driver. Bye. So this simple idea, believe it or not, is going to help you hit better irons. It's going to help you hit better drives, as well as helping you hit better pitch shots. Yeah, even your wedges will get better. So what is the runaway club face and how can we get control of it? So basically it's how you move the club face throughout your whole swing. Now lots of you watching already know, yeah, but Mark, I know when you get to first parallel, it should be somewhere kind of parallel with your spine angle. We know that, which is great, but watch what happens when we look at real students. Like I say, JD Golf Academy, if you want to get on this tech, check them out. This tech is amazing. We can see when people start getting it slightly wrong, and it's only slightly wrong in that first stage. It could go anywhere from that. What often happens for people who hit that array of shots I said at the start is it just keeps going, just keeps getting wrong and more wrong. It runs away. It's the runaway club face. So let's give you some drills today that are going to help you get a feeling of what your club face should be doing throughout most of the swing, certainly backswing to downswing, and then let it go. And this is going to transform the way you hit the ball. How much loft you present, giving you more distance, the curvature will reduce because often loft means face is open to par for lots of people, which is why we see horrible curves. And it'll also improve strikes, ball then turn strikes, get rid of the horrible low point earlies. If you want to hit your golf shot straighter, this is key. We don't want a runaway club face, we want a controlled club face. So let's start with position one, where we saw our student just slightly out with their face, not massively. So first port of call, when you get to that first parallel with your club face, yeah, let's try and get the face pointing slightly more down to the ground. So leading edge somewhere parallel to spine angle is good, even slightly more turned than that. You could have it slightly toed up as well. We don't want any faces pointing up to the sky at this point. And the way we're doing that is controlling our wrist angles as we go back, so not adding too much angle. And we're also trying to feel that the wrists are starting to turn, move in a certain way. We want them just starting to flatten from your extended lead position, just starting to go this way. So simple drill to kick off that initial part, and this is the easiest of all the parts. I want you just to take the club back to in line with this club that I've positioned on my toe of my trail foot to the heel of my lead foot, going through, touching both feet at address. And what I'm going to try and do is just align the club face, leading edge and the shaft up with the shaft on the ground here. So you could even try and get the face slightly close to the line of the shaft on the ground as well. See how I'm just turning that in slightly? We certainly don't want it fanning open at this point. We don't want the running away starting super early. Now what I can also do is I can set this position up for my first takeaway position, and then as I swing up and then come back down, I'm going to try and align it again. Club face either square or even again turned in. This is a great way of feeling how your wrists should be working, which way they should be working to try and not get, remember the amateur at this point was kind of way out here with no options of hitting the ball apart from getting back here and flicking it forwards. So let's try a few, just turn that face slightly down to the ground, demo the downswing, feel like I'm pointing that loft, that face down to the ground, and then hit your shots. You're going to find you get different shapes, different trajectories, very different strikes. Now the next port of call I want you to really start focusing on is when lead arm gets parallel to the ground. Where is the club face? So as I stop my lead arm parallel to the ground here, I want to know where that face is, say in relationship to this lead arm. And what I want to see is the face slightly what we would call close to my lead arm. So if that's parallel to my lead arm there, as you can see on the camera, about as close as I can get, I want you to feel that it's actually slightly turned inwards to that lead arm. When I stop here, I can see that the face, if I drew a line on the face here, it's slightly close to my lead arm. Opposed to what we saw from our amateur players, they get it slightly wrong here, and then as they start to hinge up, they start getting it really wrong around here, where the face now is way more open to the angle of my lead arm. Now the best way of feeling this is just grab the club right down the bottom here. See how low down I've got? Because when you get to this lead arm parallel to the ground position, because it's so connected now with my arm, I mean, you can even hold it if it's not that clear to look at, right down at the face. Go back to that lead arm position parallel to the ground and see where this club face is. I can see that it's trying to close, so the angle to my lead arm. Remember, our amateur was that way. Now they're not spinning it in the grip like I'm doing here. They're actually using their wrist angles and rotations to try and get that face into the position they're getting into. So what you need to do, the key to this, is when you're stopping in these first parallel, or first position when we had the club between our feet, parallel to the lead arm, parallel to the ground position, is what is turning wrists, what is making that club go, because you're going to have to be able to latch onto these feelings, because obviously you're not going to be able to see them as you swing. So these feelings are what is going to guide you through the better shots. And at the start, what's difficult, if you're someone who's hit shots and never thought about where the face is or where your wrists are turning and twisting, it's abstract, it's odd, it feels uncomfortable. Players go, oh, you want me to think of that, not think about hitting the ball? Yeah, good players aren't thinking about hitting the golf ball. Good players are often thinking about moving in a certain way, moving at a certain speed. They're thinking about them to get the resulting shot. Amateurs often so focused on just bang, trying to hit the golf ball, where if you can control the movements of the face, the angles of the club and what have you, the resulting shots just come out, like they just happen. Now we can repeat this for the downswing. So what I'm going to do is once I've got up to the top and I start moving down, I'm going to get lead arm parallel to the ground again, and I want that face, same feeling like it's slightly closed to my lead arm. When I get down to this position where the club is, I want that face feeling like it's closed to lead arm, closed to the shaft of the club, closed to this line on the floor if it's still there for you. And at the same time, I'm going to feel, what does that feel like? So I'm going to have a peak, twist my wrist and move it into where I want to put it, put my head back, twist it around a little bit. This is good. Try and play with your range of movements of closing it, opening it, and then try and work those feelings into these shots. Arrow. Having good awareness of the face is a skill. It's a skill that you need to be practicing. Having these 2/4 checkpoints, so just before first parallel lead arm to the ground backswing, lead arm parallel to the ground on downswing, just before impact coming into the ball, with that club in line with the club on your imaginary floor, if it's there or not, are great ways of feeling, understanding, controlling that face. And remember, you can do this with the driver and the iron and the wedge, all clubs. If you are one of those players that have a runaway face, which so many do, this is why we start seeing lots of the crazy impact positions, elbows back, flicking forward, where lots of golfers are actually trying to fix those positions without addressing the key issue. When it comes to doing it with your driver, it's way harder, a bit easier with the iron, but if you want to see how to do it more with your driver, this video explains it a bit more in depth about controlling loft, we call it, which in effect is face, and it's blowing people's heads off.